Good luck po. Kinaopen nila. Yung mismong
Ma'am Emmy, pa-mute po.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to be the moderator of the Society's 20th Annual Convention entitled Cardiovascular Nurses in the Heart of Healthcare Transformation. I am Sheena Importante, and on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. Before we begin, I'd like to remind everyone of the following guidelines. First, note that the microphone will be muted throughout the lecture proper. Second, please post your questions in the Q&A section or use the raise hand function anytime throughout the session. Questions will be addressed after the lectures. Third, this session will be recorded. Lastly, please participate in the survey at the end of this webinar in exchange of your certificates. Certificates will only be given to SCVNPPI members who attended 2 days of the convention. Let us take a moment of silence for the invocation to be followed by the national anthem and the SCVNPPI hymn.
Let us pray. Lord Jesus, as we enter this training hall, we bring your presence with us. We speak your peace, your grace, and your perfect order into the atmosphere of the session room. We acknowledge your lordship over all that will be spoken, thought, decided, and accomplished within these walls. Lord Jesus, we thank you for the gifts you have given to each one of us. We do not take them lightly, but commit in using them responsibly and well. Give us a fresh supply of truth and beauty to which we draw our strength in doing our job. Anoint our creativity, our ideas, and our energy so that even our smallest tasks may bring you honor. Lord, when we're confused, guide us. When we're worried, energize us. Lord, when we're burnt out, infuse us with the light of your Holy Spirit. May the work that we do and the way that we do bring hope, life, and courage to all that we come into contact with. And Lord, even in these days, most stressful moments, may we rest in you. In your strong and powerful name we pray. Amen.
The SCVNPPI is the leading specialty organization committed in advancing cardiovascular nursing, upholding the highest standard of nursing practice, recognized globally. The SCVNPPI is committed to advance cardiovascular nursing practice through the application of standards, education, research, and linkages in order to promote the quality of cardiovascular health of all the people. The SCVNPPI is the leading specialty organization committed in advancing cardiovascular nursing, upholding the highest standard of nursing practice, recognized globally. The SCVNPPI is committed to advance cardiovascular nursing practice through the application of standards, education, research, and linkages in order to promote the quality of cardiovascular health of all the people. The SCVNPPI.
Though this is not the most ideal circumstance, we really appreciate you taking a time off from your busy schedules to be with us today. We have lined up a number of interesting topics, so I hope this day will be fruitful for everyone. To formally open this virtual convention, let us all welcome the President of the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines Incorporated, Ms. Felicissima T. Romero.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the first virtual convention of the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines, or the SCVNPPI, with the theme Cardiovascular Nurses in the Heart of Healthcare Transformation. To all our participants, beloved speakers who will share their knowledge and expertise, the previous president of the Society, Organizing Committee, Gibron family, and other sponsor, thank you very much. Without all of you, this convention will not become possible. We have all come together with singular purpose to share our interests, our curiosity, our passion, and our intent to build healthier lives free of cardiovascular diseases. We all know that cardiovascular diseases is the leading cause of morbidity and premature mortality worldwide. It remains the leading cause of death despite decades of advances in medical, surgical, and device therapy. The World Health Organization and the American Heart Association goal is to reduce death and disability by 25%, disability of cardiovascular disease by 25% in 2025. And the long-term goal is to elevate cardiovascular nursing globally and to effect CVD prevention and treatment. With this, they recognize nurses and other healthcare teams because they play a vital role in supporting their goals. Targeting the prevention of diseases and promptly intervening at the earliest sign of disease, even preventing its risks. represent a potent objective, especially on today's resource-sensitive environment movement in healthcare and during this pandemic. The implications go beyond primary and secondary prevention. The new transformational thought process targets primordial preventions, which is preventions of risk. And this will require new process, new science, new processes of care, and new metrics of quality. Think about this. Consider its benefit. Truly will be creating a future healthier lives, free of cardiovascular disease. Let's not miss the transformation here, improving the cardiovascular health for all. We are trusted, we truly advocate for best cardiovascular health for our mission. We believe that advocacy can be a powerful vehicle of change. And as an organization, we have heard the heartfelt stories of people who have reached the brink of bankruptcy due to healthcare costs, despite of good insurance. We have agonized over the plight of mothers with children who have congenital heart disease and the impossible task of staying ahead of their bills. And we have felt the anguish of people who know that they have seen their loved ones suffer to lack of adequate, accessible, affordable healthcare. We envision that we provide the best healthcare in the world. As people who care, we know that exclusion of any group or person from adequate health care is the exclusion of all from our best quality of life. In closing, let me be clear. We are grounded in science. We are driven by mission. We are focused on reducing death and disability due to cardiovascular diseases. We are committed to building a healthier lives free of cardiovascular disease. And we are charged with being transformational. That's today's message. Let us not lose this great opportunity. Everyone matters and everyone's work is important. This is an electrical environment, and this is where transformational change begins. By the power vested in me as president of the organization, I would like to declare the convention open by giving recognition to the officers, board of directors, and NOMELEC of the organization. I present yours truly is the president, Daisy Algenio, vice president, Maria Cristina Omlas, secretary, Susan Umali, treasurer, Jesus Ferdinand Peralta, auditor, Karen Idona Cruz, public relation officer, and the board of directors, Marjorie Andres, Emilinda Banaria, Flor de Lisa Palma, Elaine Ocampo, Bernadette Daza, Patrick Jan Medina. For our NOMELEC, Dali Dayan Miranya, Janice Love Cometa, Jane Eva Ompauto. And our administrative secretary, Lemuel Mondragon. The chairman of this convention, special thanks to Ms. Bernadette Daza. Thank you. Without the continued support, collaboration, commitment, and dedication of the members of the society, the organization will not become successful. Before I leave my presidency, I would like to present to you the journey of the organization.
What a journey it has been. a journey it has been. Half the world is sleeping, half the world's awake, half can hear their hearts beat, half just hear them break. I am but a traveler in most everywhere. Ask me what you want to know. What a journey it has been, and the end is not in sight. But the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. I have been to sorrow, I have been to bliss. Where I'll be tomorrow, I can only guess. Through the darkest desert, through the deepest snow, forward, always forward I go. What a journey it has been, in the end is not in sight. But the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. Forward, always forward. Onward, always up. Catching every drop of hope in my empty cup. What a journey it has been. In the end is not in sight, but the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. What a journey it has been. In the end, it's not in sight, but the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. Forward, always forward. Onward, always up. Catching every drop of hope in my empty cup. What a journey it has been. In the end is not in sight, but the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. What a journey it has been. In the end is not in sight, but the stars are out tonight, and they're bound to guide my way. When they're shining on my life, I can see a better day. I won't let the darkness in. What a journey it has been. What a journey it has been.
Thank you, Ma'am Feli, for that warm welcome. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. She is the host of Team FitFill at ABS-CBN Star Hunt. She is one of the female trainers of The Biggest Loser Pinoy Edition doubles at ABS-CBN. She is also ABS-CBN's resident fitness coach and expert, a female host and trainer of MetaBeats. She is also a brand ambassador of Under Armour, a certified holistic plant-based raw food chef, co-founder, sports training director of the Philippine Olympic Committee, and co-founder of Milo Apex Running School. Let us all welcome Miss Marie Antoinette Di Maguila Saret, also known as Coach Tony.
Magandang araw po. Ako po si Coach Tony Saret, ang iyong katuwang, kaakibat at kaagapay sa ating paksa at 20th Annual Convention ngayon. Pero of course, kasama ko po as special guest po ang aking asawa na si Coach Jim Saret. So sana maibigan niyo po ang aking sorpresa sa inyo. And sa ating po mga bagong bayani, this is by the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines. So, congratulations po at nakaabot po tayo ng 20th year. Diba? So, bihira po yan at talagang ang ating tema ngayong taon ay galaw-galaw para sa bagong araw. Naku, mamaya sasaad ko pa yung additional hashtag ko dyan na galaw-galaw. Mamaya. Pero galaw-galaw para sa bagong araw at magkakasama po tayo magkakaakibat na i-combat ang sedentary lifestyle for a longer life. So, salamat po at talagang pinaunlakan nyo kami at ang araw na ito para tayo magtipon-tipon at magsama-sama at it's always very humbling to be your guest and my special guest here, Coach Jim Saret. Kami po, kung hindi maikakaila, ambassadors po ng Philippine Heart Association for the past 7 years at proud po kaming isaad yun at idagdag po dahil today we will be talking about the heart and how to keep your heart healthy, well, and fit. Lalong-lalo na po sa panahon ng pandemya. Tama ba, Coach Jim? Kaila po sa lahat, hindi po pipi ang aking asawa. Ako po sandamakmak at sobrang daldal lang po.
Hello po sa lahat po na members at officers po ng Society of the Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines.
Yes.
And again, congratulations po sa inyong 20th Annual Convention. Actually po, ako lang po yung extra ng araw. Ako po magiging technician, magiging timer, at backup po ni Coach Tony. But of course, we're so happy and we're grateful for our frontliners. Malalaman po natin how difficult the times are right now. And Coach Tony and I have been sharing this simple fitness activities na pwede po gawin ng kahit sino, kahit anong edad, at kung meron po silang nararamdaman, malaki tulong din po ito sa kanila. And we're hoping na magugustuhan niyo po siya at share niyo din po siya sa inyong mga pasyente.
Akmang-akma po siya ngayon sa panahon ng pandemya at tulad ng sinabi ni Coach Jim, it's for all demographics. Kung bata ka, matanda ka, senior citizen, also for kids. If you're infanticipating kung buntis, as long as may paspas po ng inyong nurse at doktor, then pwedeng gumalaw at kumimot. At pati po sa mga may PWD. So this is for everyone at lalong-lalo na po yung mga may kabigatan or morbidly to extremely obese. So alam naman po natin na the pandemic has had a lot of setbacks. At talagang na-amplify lahat na ng may mga comorbidities. At ang isa dyan po yung cardiovascular diseases, di ba? So today we are talking about taking care of our heart and avoiding cardiovascular diseases or how to prevent it, di ba? And
yun. So alam po natin na treating people with cardiovascular problems, hindi po yan madali. And especially in pandemya, maraming nagsisimulang mag-workout because alam nila maganda para sa immunity, pero hindi naman sila ready o hindi nila po nung gagawin. And there are a lot of people that jump into the fitness bandwagon kagad na madaling mag-high intensity exercise sila because nakita nila sa YouTube. These are things talaga that are very risky. So today we're going to be showing you po from our experience some of the most basic but very helpful exercise na pwede po simulan ng kahit sino po, whether they have or whether they do not have any form of cardiovascular problem. It's very, very safe, very doable po siya. At the end of the day, what counts is that it works. Diba? So, ang tuturo po actually ni Coach Tony, and ako po ang magiging official timer, ang tinatawag po namin, 1 minute.
1 minuto para sa puso! Naman, hinuhulaan ko talaga kung anong gusto niya sabihin, di ba? Pero napangnahan ko na siya. Anyways, ito po yung sinabi ni Coach Jim, sa panahon po ngayon ng digital age, ang dami pong nagsiself-diagnose, self-medicate,
Prescribe the
prescribe,
workouts.
so, or self-proclaim. So, ang talagang, we funnel you to the experts, the rightful experts like our cardiovascular nurse practitioners, or your doctors, or your cardiologists, or your fitness experts also, sa akmang workout. Hindi po kailangan buwis buhay ngayon dahil kailangan i-preserve po natin ang ating immune system. But of course, we encourage movement and key because being sedentary is also part of the new epidemic, di ba? Na na-amplify ng pandemya. Everyone is becoming sedentary. Sedentaryism na nga po ang isa pang epidemic. Being immobile, not moving, hindi na po gumagalaw, hindi na po kumikimot, tsaka sitting at the new smoking, or sitting is the new smoking. Kaya ang dami na po talagang sakit, samot-sari na po na complicate lahat na po ng mga may comorbidities. Kaya ang cardiorespiratory immunoresponse siguro ngayon ang ating ituturo para talagang mapasigla ang ating mga puso. Yung tamang-tama lang po. So, yung 1 minuto na yan o yung 4 na minuto, akmang-akma at sakto lang po. It's non-invasive, non-intrusive. It's doable by everyone. Wala pong kailangan na kagamitan. Espasyo, isang dipa lang po ang agwat na kailangan. Whatever space you have at home, kung maliit po ang ating lugar sa bahay, hindi po natin kailangan ng special equipment at katawan lang po ang ating bibit-bitin.
Correct. So I think the biggest question here is paano nga ba magsimula ng isang exercise program, especially if you're a beginner or hindi mo talaga alam paano, anong gagawin, ano ba kakayahan ng isang tao. So today we're going to be sharing with you po, or Coach Tony is going to be sharing with you
special guest kita
our special,
diba?
specially created.
Although girl power ngayong araw, syempre kasama po natin ang ating mga asawa, di ba? Dahil
Driver lang po ako ngayon.
ika nga daw every behind every throne is a woman, di ba? So,
okay. So,
tayo na
moving
po.
forward, ang i-share po namin sa inyo, basically our 1 minute at 4 minute workouts na ginawa namin ni Coach Tony. We experimented, we tried it out, we did some tests. But anyway, we're sharing you po itong promote namin chair workouts, something that we created during this pandemic. And actually po, when we first launched it with the PNP, with the Philippine National Police, with General Sinas.
Ang sikat po nating general ng PNP at si Chief General Sinas, ano?
When we launched it po with them, because they asked us for help during the pandemic, kasi karamihan na po ng mga officers ngayon or mga PNP personnel nakaupo lang sa desk job nila.
Yes, or yung mga non-NUP, non-uniformed policemen.
Correct. Yung mga wala sa front lines, sa loob ng opisina, wala sila masyado ginagawa, nagiging sedentary lang talaga.
Correct.
And so we created this workout program na designed talaga for people in the office. Since most people in the office are nakaupo po sila, so ginawa namin, we designed workouts na nakaupo para wala ng excuse, di ba? Kasi minsan sasabihin, kailangan ng malaking space, kailangan tumakbo, kailangan ng itong equipments. Tinanggal po namin lahat yun. Nakaupo ka, let's get started. Kung kahit na ano pa po ang suot nyo, para wala talagang excuse.
Correct.
So we showed it to them, we tried it out, and they loved it. And General Sinas ended up launching it sa media. And what happened there po was very interesting. The kwento ni Coach Tony, na after being launched sa media, we had how many?
8 million views dahil po ngayon lang po ata sila nakakita ng workout sa upuan o na nakaupo. Ito naman ang aming kasagutan po sa Lunas, sa sitting is the new smoking na epidemic, di ba? At sedentaryism, because we want to fight the sedentary lifestyle. So we encourage movement, galaw-galaw para sa bagong araw, or galaw-galaw para di po tayo pumanaw, mga kabayan at kapit Pilipino sa lahat po ng panig ng mundo.
Sinabi ni Coach Tony. So, yung chair workouts was one of the things we created that we, when na-launch po siya, that got a lot of attention because ang daming mga fitness experts na nakiklaim na hindi yan mag-work kasi daw nakaupo lang naman daw, workout sa pangtamad, hindi po ba? At the end of the day, ang goal po namin ni Coach Tony, at goal natin lahat po in the health practice is to get people to move, di ba? To start moving. Hindi naman natin ambisyon na maging bodybuilders ang mga pasyente, hindi ba? So those are chair workouts that got 8 million views. Ang dami nag-bash. Binabash sila, walang mangyayari dyan, pangtabad yan, walang development, nakaupo sila. But at the end, if you really look at it from a scientific point of view, wala pong sinasabing hindi nag-work ang exercises na ginagawa habang nakaupo. Actually, a lot of the Olympic athletes that we train are in positions na nakaupo sila. Let's take, for example, dragon boat rowing, canoe kayak, sailing, cyclists, di ba ba? A lot of the people there, triathlon, people on horses, a lot of exercises, a lot of sports involve movements na nakaupo sila. And if you also go to a gym, pag pumunta po kayo sa gym, pansinin niyo talaga, most of the exercise machines, nakaupo po ang mga gagamit. Okay? Seated lat pull, seated bench press, seated row, seated lahat po. So it's so funny that even though ginagamit natin sa normal setting, hindi ma-visualize ng ibang mga tao na pag nakaupo na siya, di ba, ganun din ang effect niya. So we're here to let you know po na even though chair workouts to, they do work, okay? Trust us, they do work, and we encourage you to try it out for yourself, and then you can actually see po ang effect nito sa inyo lahat.
Actually, it's very controversial nga po, kasi nga po, first time na inunsad nung dalawang coaches ang chair workouts. Para naman kanina ito, at para naman saan, parang pangtamad. But you know what, actually, it's a lot of ripple effect. But when you implement something that's revolutionizing or that's life-changing, of course, it's going to have a lot of ripple effect. At kudos po, lahat po hinahangaan namin. I mean, lahat po ng, of course, we train the national teams. We're in awe of our athletes. Lahat po nung fitness enthusiasts, lahat po, wala pong masama sa workout. We're in awe of moving. Kaya lang, ito nga pong pandemya, hindi po tayo nakagalaw at nakakimot. Kaya maganda naman po na nakaparaan tayo at pumaraan din tayo para po we get to move because movement is key. And movement and consistency in movement is the only way to move forward and progress.
Right.
And fight sedentarism.
And
so that's really basically it. And as long as it works, and as long as it's doable, it's non-invasive, non-intrusive, at hindi siya intimidating para po sa lahat, then it's going to be effective.
And remember, since nakaupo na po ang ating mga pasyente, napaka-safe po niya, di ba? And that's actually the double bonus na nakuha namin na kita namin ni Coach Tony. When people have heart problems, people are super obese, diabetes, when we teach them the chair workouts, oh wow, parang game na game sila gawin. Kasi they feel safe, they feel like hindi sila mahihilo, babagsak sila.
Kung may vertigo ka, hindi mababagsak ang ulo mo, hindi ka lang mahuhulog or babagsak.
Pag babagsak yung blood sugar, hindi sila babagsak. Pag biglang bumili yung heart rate, diba?
Or those who are hypertensive also, no?
So the chair workouts are actually perfect for people with maybe cardiovascular problems or any other health problems. So without any further ado, let's teach them already.
In fact po, baka po makita niyo po sa mga hospital niyo dahil kaakibat at kaagapay po namin ang Philippine Medical Association with a chair workout. In fact, ang ating mga doktor nag-shoot po ang board members ng Philippine Medical Association at Philippine Heart Association. Kasama po namin na naglunsad ng 4-minute at 1-minute workout videos na nakaupo to combat sitting as the new smoking and fight sedentarism. So, sana po mapanood nyo sa lahat po ng hospital because it's actually being disseminated as material and content by our physicians. And I mean, that speaks for what? 200,000 physicians in our country.
Okay, so without much further ado,
and now, our nurses, di ba?
Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines.
Pugay po sa inyo.
It's time to get on your seats, your chairs. Huwag po tayo manunood. Sabayan niyo po kami ni Coach Tony. We're gonna be teaching you 1-minute pocket workouts. And the goal of this is to help everybody get started their fitness journey. Now, bakit siya 1 minute? Because A, whenever we say 1 minute, 100% ng tao will say, yes, I'm gonna try it. Pag sinabi niyo kasi sa tao, magto 20-30 minute workout tayo, nako, suddenly ang daming excuses na naglalabas. We started 1 minute. Actually, we're gonna be doing shorter pa than that. We're gonna do 30-second exercises. Tapos dudugtungan natin isa pang 30-second exercise to form a 1-minute workout. Then as time goes by, you'll add another 1 minute, then another 1 minute. So para siyang Lego. And again, dinesign namin ito ni Coach Tony to be super safe talaga para kahit kanino. It's a great way to build up someone's fitness level, dahan-dahan, diba? Let's not just throw people kagad to a 30-minute workout. Let's get them started first, slowly but surely, and of course, super safe.
Okay, so akmang-akma nga po ito para sa ating pandemya at akmang-akma din po sa bawat katao. So it's tailor-fitted to each individual. So go at your own pace, listen to your body, at sa abot lang po ng makakaya. Tandaan, wag iwasan po natin yung over-exhausting ourselves with too much duress sa ating exercise and avoid being sedentary. So kailangan po everything in moderation at kailangan gumalaw-galaw tayo at kumilos.
And speaking of galaw-galaw, when Coach Tony received the letter of invitation, and yung
Ako
team...
po'y natuwa dahil nakita ko galaw-galaw para sa bagong araw. Sa amin po palabas sa Team Fitil. Na mapapanood niyo po sa Kapamilya Channel at lahat po ng digital platforms ng ABS-CBN at Meta Beats po sa Metro Channel. Aba, ang aking hashtag at ang aking tagline o sigaw. Dahil lahat po ng mga kabayan sa lahat ng panig ng mundo, nag-message po at sabi nila, Coach, pwede bang pakisigaw ang galaw-galaw para di humanaw? O, di ba? Talagang swak na swak, tumpak, pasok sa baga po ang ating tema, ang ating theme, at talagang we really have to encourage movement because movement is key. So kudos po, and we salute you to the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners on this 20th year of your convention. At tara na po, galaw-galaw na po tayo!
Okay, so to all the nurses and all those watching,
Sa lahat po natin mga bagong bayani and frontliners, kayo po ang aming mga bagong bayani at sinasaluduhan po namin kayo. At wow, talaga.
so, huwag po kayo manood. Kumuha na kayo ng puan, i-on nyo yung videos nyo, at sabihin nyo na po si Coach Tony. Okay? I will be the official timer whilst Coach Tony will explain everything. Remember, these are 1-minute workouts. I'll adjust the camera. These are 1-minute workouts, which are pocket workouts, which are even divided into 30 seconds lang.
Tinawag ka dito, Coach Jim, sundot workout.
So we call tawag namin ni Coach Tony dito, sundot workouts. And the reason for that again is, it's the safest way to start anyone. Start with 30 seconds, observe, check the heart rate, see the reaction ng katawan, see the reaction ng puso. Once they're okay, once bumaba na siya, let's do another 30-second workout. Diba? Again, this is not designed for fat loss. I mean, it can be, i-tweak natin siya. But right now, we just want to save people's lives. And with that, we need to pay attention more sa heart rate nila, at of course, sa kanilang blood pressure, and how to respond to the exercises. Okay, so this is the way it works. Get a chair. Make sure hindi babagsak yung upuan. Okay, then...
So, hindi po yung upuan, preferably, hindi po yung may gulong sa ilalim o yung gumugulaw.
Correct. And then the next thing, we usually teach people how to check their heart rate because we want them sana to know what their target exercise heart rate zone is para maglalaro sila doon. But I'm sure you guys know that. You can do that later on. Right now, we'll focus on the exercises per se, and hopefully you can teach them out. But for everybody else, sundan niyo po si Coach Tony. Huwag po kayo manunood lang. Okay? All right. Our first 30-second exercise.
Alright. Naku, hindi yata kitang paa, Coach.
Yeah,
Coach
but
Jim,
go ahead.
Coach, wala ng konti. Naku, tayo po yung talagang marunong magmarcha at marunong gumalaw, di po ba? Ano ba naman yung gagalaw din tayo at isi-stimulate po yan na nakaupo. Para po sa mga may sakit sa tuhod o may sakit sa likod o kung ano man, wala na pong excuse. Alright, napapakita ko po ang unang exercise is march in place. Ito na, umangka sa upuan at magmarcha na. O di po ba, dumabol?
So, it looks very simple. Everybody can do it. Wala na excuse habang nag-Zoom session, habang nag-aantay, gumalaw na po. Now, if you notice,
Hindi pa nagsisimula ang Zoom. Magmarcha muna ako.
it looks simple, but her legs are firing, diba? Her arms are firing. So everybody, let's do this for 30 seconds.
Ay, may kabigatan ng aking pata. Kaya ako'y na-challenge.
Okay, 30 seconds po siya. Remember, the faster you move, the more calories you're going to be burning. But we always tell people, gawin nyo lang yung kaya nyo at your own pace. Hindi po to karera. This is completion. So it's complete, don't compete. Okay? Ready po tayo? 30 seconds.
Yes!
At your command.
Umakyat po na matuwid. Umupo na matuwid. Hindi po matutumba ha. And on your mark, teka lang, to the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse, Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines. Ano po ang ating isisigaw? Galaw, galaw! Para sa bagong araw! At pwede rin pong galaw, galaw para di pumanaw! Correct? Tara na! 3, 2, 1. Coach Jim, ang aking timer. And let's go!
Okay, so 30 seconds po siya. Now, everyone sabayan niyo po siya. Mukha siyang simple, but you will feel the difference later on. And again, remember, the faster you move, the bigger the steps, the bigger the high knees, the bigger the arm swing, mas marami po kayong calories na mag-burn. Yan.
Woo! Pagod na ako! Ganda niyo po ba?
4, 3, 2, 1. 30 seconds. Stop. Okay.
Huwag po tayong sabay-sabay ng isang malaking ha! As long as you heave your sigh of relief. Grabe.
That was 30 seconds. Yan pong a usual typical warm-up. Okay? Now, ang kapartner niya, so kasi we said it's a 1-minute workout, but we like to do this first before we make them do the second one just to see how their heart reacted. Kasi marami, first, ganyan pa lang, alam niyo yun? So that's not normal. The normal response is medyo napagod ng konti lang, but ready to go for the next one. If you notice your patients are like hinihingal-hingal, hindi pa ready, then you can make them stop and have a longer rest.
Opo, ako taga-takpawis na nga eh. Oh.
Okay. Ang kapartner niyang workout, for those that are ready to go naman, for the next 30 seconds.
Nako, hulaan niyo po. Tayo po'y magja-jogging, babay-bay ng loreta at tatakbo. Umakla ng matuwid for leverage. Hold on to your seat. At tayo po'y tatakbo sa abot ng makakaya. So jogging, kung kaya niyo po mas mabilis, okay lang sa abot ng makakaya. Yung iba, kung ganito po mag-jogging, okay lang po. Naku, may kabigatan ng aking bata. Challenging ko, Coach Jim. Or, pwede namang mas mabilis.
Okay, ready, everyone? Okay, to all the nurses out there, everyone
Hindi
doing.
ka magsimula, kapagda ako.
Okay, so we did the 30 seconds kanina. We're gonna do 30 seconds now. Everyone ready? In 3.
Ang daya talaga ni Coach Jim. Palibasa, nag-uutos lang at nagka-time. Anyways, 2, 1, let's go! Let's go to our awesome, beautiful ladies, the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines, and to the handsome nurses too. Ilang po siguro girl power, ano? Malakas po ng mga nurses! Represent! Ah! Ramdam niyo na po ba?
And stop.
Ha? Ay, buhay bumuga. Sabay-sabay po tayong bumuga. In 3, 2, 1, and ha! Good job. Hey, I know you're in the confines of your homes, but I hear you, I feel you. Damang-dama po namin kayong lahat dyan. Damang-dama po namin kayo ni Coach Jim. At talagang, iisa lang naman po talaga tayo. Isang lahi, isang mukhahi at talagang ramdam-ramdam ang closeness natin sa inyong mga tahanan
Okay.
ngayong araw.
So, the second workout, kung ginawa niyo po siya,
Hihinga lang po ako ay matula pa daw ako.
if you did it, I am sure na-experience niyo po kung ano yung effect niya sa inyo. If you like the workout, maybe you can give us a shoutout sa aming Facebook pages.
Naibigan niyo po ba?
But we
Facebook
hope
pages and
Coach Jim Saret, Coach Tony Saret.
for the Fit Filipino Movement, para po sa ating lahat yan.
But that's a very simple workout everybody can do, pero malakas po magpataas ang heart rate.
Correct?
So make sure you check on your clients, make sure they're okay. If you are the one doing it, you felt it, good. Keep practicing it kasi po, you don't need to go outside to run. If you don't have time, kahit naka-nurse uniform kayo, go ahead and do it. Na-feel nyo naman siya.
Okay, so sa abot na po na makakaya ng ating pasyente, kung kaya po ng ganito, Mabagal lang po. Sa takbo naman, kung kaya lang na ganito, o slower, as long po as gumagalaw sila.
Okay, so we'll proceed. We'll teach you another 1-minute workout combination. Tapos, ang goal kasi para tayong Lego, you can start adding the workouts together, building blocks, until makabuo tayo ng 4 minutes along the way. So the second 1-minute workout, ang first 30 seconds, we're going to be doing jumping jacks.
Ayan! Nakaupo! Nakaupo tayo!
So remember, jumping jacks is a full body movement. Malakas po yan mag-burn ng calories kasi upper and lower body siya. And at the same time, itong tinuturo po namin ni Coach Tony is very good for the heart and for the lungs. Tama ba, Coach Tony?
Correct! Smack tumpak, tanok ka sa mga Coach Jim.
Okay, so ready guys for 30 seconds. Again, sabayan niyo po si Coach Tony.
Wait,
Huwag lang po kayo manunod.
correct. Ang tawag po dito, di ba, cardiovascular or cardiorespiratory immunoresponses. Dahil yung bago lang po ang tinatamaan ng COVID, pero ang puso po ang directly din na na-affect, lalo na po yung mga may comorbidity na cardiovascular diseases, whether it be hypertension or any other heart problems. Tama po ba? Kahit po emotional problems ng puso, kasama na rin dyan.
So we'll teach you the two movements para ma-experience yung pag 1 minute straight ang pakiramdam. Kasi some of us here are advanced. Remember, what we're teaching you are not really for advanced people. We're really teaching you for the basic people who don't know where to get started.
Correct.
So these are the two movements. The first one is jumping jacks. Demo.
Wow! Posible pa lang
Yeah.
mag-jumping
So for the girls, you're actually targeting also your inner and outer thighs.
correct, adductors,
Correct.
it's a full body movement,
Now-
full body engagement.
You're doing this for 30 seconds. Ang partner workout niya is what we call skip ropes.
Okay, ako, make sure po na ang tuhod magkadikit, bubuhatin ang ating legs, ang kita.
So imaginary skip rope po yan. Again, lahat ng tinuturo ni Coach Tony mukhang madali. But try it out, okay?
So, sa lahat po ng magagaling na mga fitness enthusiasts na, and for all those fitness warriors, you are doing good job. Ito naman po is for also encouraging and inspiring others. And for even if you are a fitness warrior but you don't have time, you just at home, then these are alternative workouts you could also do, di po ba? And pwede po natin ituro sa ating mga kasambahay, senior citizens, lola, bata. I think it's fun. Habang sumasagot po ng syllabus at nag-aaral kasama ang ating mga chikiting. Di po ba? Coach Jim, I am ready. My handsome human timer. O di po ba, bias? Galing sa tawag. 2, 1, and go! Tara na po!
Kung may pasyente po kayo, remember, obserbahan nyo sila throughout the 30 seconds. Kung napapagod sila, they can stop at any time. And you will have a gauge of how strong their heart and their lungs are. 3, 2, 1, stop.
For others, you can go
And
slower. 1,
switch to
Mas
the...
mabagal po, pwede naman kung ganito lang.
Correct.
Ano
But
po yung kaya?
remember, this is 1 minute straight. Ituloy natin kagad so mapili na yung 1 minute.
Yes.
In 3, 2, 1, yung partner workout. Go!
Skip rope! Let's go, guys!
So, tinuloy ko lang siya. Kasi remember, without a long rest period after the 30 seconds, mas malakas yung impact niya sa heart at sa lungs.
Bigat po ng prata ko! Ramdam niyo na po ang bigat ng ating mga hita! Ha!
4, 3, 2, 1, stop!
Ha! So let's all heave a sigh of relief in tandem. Sabay-sabay po tayo. 3, 2, 1, buga! Let's go! Ha!
Make sure lang po wala kayong katabi kapag bubuga po kayo, okay?
Okay. O, nakamask po kayo, ha? Patawagin po ako. So, that's it, mga ka-fit pills.
If you notice po, Coach Tony, who is used to doing these workouts, hinihingal po siya. That means it works. It means na-challenge yung puso, na-challenge yung lungs.
Ayan
So-
po, pawis tagatakpawis. And to think, coach na po ako naturing yan, ha? Ayan po, ako po yung hingal na hingal at tagatakpawis na. At naka-aircon pa po dito ngayon.
Correct. So there are a lot more 1-minute workouts that we have created, but due to time constraints, Coach Tony is like has kaya ako nandito Pag wala ko dito, mag-iisang oras si Coach Tony sa lecture. So, pinag-guide ko na po kagad para mag-switch kagad ng topic kapag kasya po siya. But we do have a lot of 1-minute workouts.
Yes, marami po yan. Marami pong permutations yan sa aming pong YouTube channel, sa Team Fitfil, sa Kapamilya channel, or sa Kapamilya channel po every Saturday and Sunday, Sabado, Linggo. Bukas po ang tabayanan nyo.
Sino mga ka-workouts natin?
7:40 ng umaga, kasama po si Gerald Anderson, si Nikki Valdez and her family, Carlo Aquino, Robbie Domingo, lahat po ng mga kapamilya na
yes, we're teaching them
sumabay at nag-workout.
4-minute workouts laban sa
Pandemya, 4 na minuto para sa puso o 1 minuto para sa puso, laban po sa pandemya, di ba? Kaya ang sigaw natin lahat, galaw-galaw para di bumanaw! Yan naman, correct. Pero ang tema natin, galaw-galaw dahil hindi tayo papanaw para sa bagong araw. O, di ba?
And with that said, again, like I said, ako yung nag-ano ng time eh. With that said, we are already lumalabas sa tayo ng 30 minutes. Again, kung nabitin po kayo, feel free to send us a message. Coach Tony can send a lot of the other videos that she has on 1-minute workout. We wanted you guys to try it out lang. Do it properly. Remember, fitness is not a competition. Well, for some people, it is kung nasa advanced level na tayo. But for majority of the population we're helping, we just want people to get started safely. People ba? Yan naman talagang pinaka-end goal natin lahat is to get people to start exercising and to love exercise, love moving. Diba?
To jumpstart their fitness journey na angkop para po sa bawat katao at nag-e-enjoy po sila. It has to be an enjoyable engagement.
And doable.
Enjoyable, doable, practical, and talagang sustainable. Kasi kung hindi naman naubos ang oras mo at sumusundot ka lang at pumipit ka lang ng isang minuto sa buong araw, talagang hanap-hanapin ng katawan mo yun and you will look forward to it. And with that said, for all 1-minute and 4-minute workouts, you can follow us on the Fit Filipino Movement. Facebook po yan. At soon, ilo-launch na rin po yung mga videos po ng the Fit Filipino Movement. Pero ang tawag po dyan, Team Fitfil. Dahil magkaka-team lang po tayo, mga team kabayan, team kapamilya, team Pilipinas. So, hanapin niyo po the Fit Filipino Movement. Tapos yung palabas po namin sa Kapamilya Channel, Team Fitfil. Kasama po ang ating mga kapamilya, actors, actresses, artistas. At tatlo pong palabas yan. Yung isa naman ay Meta Beats on the Metro Channel. Meta Beats, we work out together for 4 minutes. And we have Meta Beats Season 1 and Season 2. So for his page, Coach Jim Saret. For my page naman po, Coach Tony Saret. Whether it's on our pages or Instagram. So that's it po. So isa po nga magandang ang araw po sa inyong lahat. At galing po sa kaibigan namin. So please stay fit, stay healthy, stay well. And that's it. Always be grateful for the day that dawns. Dahil kailangan po kami magkayot gumalaw para sa isang bagong araw. And
yes,
ang aking guest para sa ngayong
congratulations po again sa society po and good luck. We do hope that we're able to share with you something po close to our hearts. That when we fitness is for everyone and it's always good to get is psychologically
doable, encouraging.
Doable for them. Start with this and then build it up until they can stand, until they can do 4 minutes, then 10 minutes, then 20 minutes, then 30 minutes. It is the safest way to go. We have seen so many people na nag-jump kagad, nag-30 minutes high intensity. Next thing you know, nagkaka-heart attack na po sila. For this pandemic po, let's all try to be as safe as possible. Congratulations, everyone.
Salamat and happy 20th annual convention. Bye guys! Magandang araw!
That was a fun session. Thank you, Coach Tony, for starting the flow of endorphins in our bodies and for giving us non-invasive strategies to enhance cardio-immuno response to combat sedentarism. Allow me to award the e-certificate to our speaker. The certificate reads, the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines Incorporated awards the Certificate of Recognition to Marie Antoinette ni Magila Saret for her invaluable contribution as a resource speaker of the topic Galaw-Galaw para sa Bagong Araw, Combating Sedentary Lifestyle for Longer Life during the 20th Convention with the theme Cardiovascular Nurses in the Heart of Healthcare Transformation, given this 20th day of May 2021. Again, thank you, Coach Tony. Our next speaker is an alumnus of Bachelor of Science in Nursing in the University of Santo Tomas. She is currently finishing her Master of Arts in Nursing, major in Nursing Administration at the UP Open University. She has been working at the Makati Medical Center since February 2007, first as a staff nurse at the 4th Rectangular, in 2012 as charge nurse at the Cardiac Catheterization Laboratory, in 2016 as a nurse manager at the CV Telemetry Unit. Aside from her role as nurse manager, she is also the coordinator of PhilHealth Z-Benefit Cabbage Package at the MMC. Official lecturer at the MMC for topics like international and EPS procedures under the Critical Care Department, management of patients with arterial lines under the NERD. She has several speaking engagements under her belt that focuses on cardiovascular best practices. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Ms. Erica B. Macairan.
Good day, everyone, and to my fellow SCVNPPI members. My name is Erica Macairan, the nurse manager of Makati Medical Center's Neurosciences and Cardiovascular Intensive Care Unit and COVID ICU. I was tasked to discuss with you the topic, How to Kiss CVD Goodbye, Initiatives and Approaches in the Risk Reduction of Cardiovascular Diseases. For our disclaimer, this presentation is intended for educational purposes only and do not replace independent judgment. Initiatives and processes that will be presented are continuously evolving. There is no conflict of interest or restrictions related to this presentation and/or related materials. The presentation may contain several materials which the copyright owner has not explicitly authorized. For our learning objectives, at the end of the session, attendees are expected to define modifiable risk factors for cardiovascular diseases, identify modifiable risk factors for CVD, learn strategies in the risk reduction of CVD, and determine challenges nurses and healthcare systems are facing in the prevention of CVD. Whether you're working the front lines or manning the desks, I think everyone can agree that 2020 has been the most challenging for healthcare professionals worldwide. It has exposed the weaknesses of healthcare institutions, governments, and highlighted the dangers of providing inaccurate information to the general public. On the other hand, it also brought about the best in us, with nurses leading the charge from the front lines, becoming beacons of hope for the afflicted. The Philippines is no exception. For the first time in a long time, the country was reminded of the importance of nurses in the prevention and management of diseases. While we were busy fighting the pandemic, non-communicable diseases have been silently claiming lives. According to the World Health Organization, COVID-19 has severely disrupted the prevention and treatment of non-communicable diseases, especially in low-income countries, where hospitals were forced to shut down non-infectious wards to divert resources and manpower to COVID wards. The WHO further states that this is a cause of great concern, since people living with non-communicable diseases such as cardiovascular disease are at higher risk for severe COVID-19 related illness and death. The main finding is that health services have been partially or completely disrupted in many countries. More than half, or 53% of the countries surveyed, have partially or completely disrupted services for hypertension treatment, 49% for treatment of diabetes and non-diabetes related complications, and 31% for cardiovascular emergencies. A staggering 94% of countries reported that health staff working in non-communicable disease wards have been partially or fully assigned to support COVID-19 units. According to the 2020 WHO report on non-communicable diseases, NCDs now make up 7 of the world's top 10 causes of death. This is a remarkable increase from 4 of the 10 leading causes in the year 2000. Another alarming statistic from this report notes that deaths from diabetes has increased by 70% between 2000 and 2019, with an 80% rise in deaths among males. Meanwhile, per country statistics show that Filipinos are 27% more likely to die prematurely from non-communicable diseases. In the light of these alarming numbers, on top of a global health crisis that has claimed millions of lives, we find ourselves asking, what do all of these NCDs have in common, and how can we prevent them? These NCDs share key modifiable behavioral risk factors like tobacco use, harmful use of alcohol, unhealthy eating, and a lack of physical activity. They continue to be an important public health challenge in all countries, including low and middle income countries where more than 3/4 of NCD deaths occur. Cardiovascular disease remains the world's #1 cause of death and is killing more people now than ever before. In 2019, CVD caused 9 million deaths and now represents 16% of total deaths from all causes. NCDs, including cardiovascular disease, are driven by forces such as the globalization of unhealthy lifestyles, urbanization, and aging. Among these, an unhealthy lifestyle is among several behavioral modifiable risk factors that can be broken down to smoking, excess sodium in the diet, increased alcohol intake, and insufficient physical activity. These behavioral risk factors result to metabolic risk factors. For example, insufficient physical activity and excessive sodium intake may manifest as raised blood pressure and obesity. Hypertension and obesity then lead to cardiovascular disease, among other NCDs, and cause premature death. Metabolic risk factors stem from uncontrolled behavioral risk factors. The key risk factors include raised blood pressure, if a person is overweight or obese, hyperglycemia, and hyperlipidemia. In terms of attributable deaths, the leading metabolic risk factor globally is elevated blood pressure, to which 19% of global deaths are attributed. This is followed by obesity, and lastly, by raised blood glucose. At first, these numbers may be daunting, but it is important for us to remember that these are modifiable. With the right amount of information and access to healthcare, we can still steer these statistics downwards. Pre-pandemic, nurses played a key role in preventing the progression of heart disease through patient education in the in- and outpatient settings and promoting healthy lifestyle behaviors. But what about in the pandemic setting? This pandemic has hindered nurses from providing the usual interventions, mainly because we have been uprooted from our usual posts to help in COVID units. The entire healthcare environment has changed. Patients can no longer access healthcare facilities, outpatient clinics are closed, and prolonged social contact is prohibited. In addition, COVID restrictions has also forced millions of people to change their lifestyles drastically. People are forced to stay indoors, gyms and other health clubs are closed, ordering food became more convenient. Lifestyle changes during the pandemic have naturally poked the interests of scientists worldwide. For example, here is a study done by the University of Potsdam, Iowa State University, and Lehman College, which aim to measure exercise frequency and its effects on a person's mood before and during the pandemic. The study involved 13,696 respondents across 18 countries who responded to a cross-sectional online survey. Significant findings include an increase in exercise frequency for those who rarely exercise pre-lockdown. People who exercise frequently pre-lockdown maintained their exercise schedules. People who exercise every day had the best mood regardless of their exercise practices pre-lockdown. And people who reduced their exercise frequency during the pandemic reported worse mood compared to others who maintained or increased their exercise frequency. This study suggests that under similar lockdown conditions, about two-thirds of those who never or rarely exercise before a lockdown might adopt an exercise behavior or increase their exercise frequency. It has long been proven that regular exercise has profound positive effects on mental health. As nurses, we know that maintaining mental health is just as important as ensuring good physical health. However, during the pandemic, the population is faced with an even greater challenge in maintaining their mental health. Stressors may include the restriction of physical freedom, the loss of professional and social identity, financial worries, the possibility of bereavement, and anxiety about one's own health. According to the author of this study, the combination of these factors are likely to create the perfect storm and likely to exacerbate pre-existing mental health problems or contribute to the onset of new ones. The article further describes key psychological theories and techniques which can be readily incorporated into therapy during the pandemic. These include beliefs about exercising, the motivation to be active, and the sense of reward derived from exercise. This article also highlights the key role of every single healthcare worker when it comes to encouraging physical activity during the pandemic. It is also important to note that healthcare workers, especially those who are on the front lines, are also in need of mental health interventions. It is up to us to make sure the nurse who is working beside us is also getting enough sleep, rest, and exercise for their mental health. In a related study published in the Frontiers of Psychology, the researchers explored the experience of fitness freaks during the pandemic. A worldwide consequence would be the closure of gyms and other fitness establishments, such as yoga or dance studios, which left them with very little options when it comes to getting a good workout. During the initial phase of the lockdown, participants reported a negative perception about the situation, as well as a general lack of motivation to exercise. However, they slowly began to adapt to the situation, finding new ways to work out given the current restrictions. Music played a vital role in overcoming their initial slump phase and also contributed to a better emotional and psychological state during the lockdown. In order for us to be successful in maintaining a healthy weight, our diet must go hand in hand with a regular exercise routine. 2020 has seen its fair share of food trends, including baking your own bread and making your own coffee and sushi at home. Suddenly, people who can't even boil an egg are transitioning into home chefs. On one hand, activity restrictions did make home cooking more prevalent in most countries. However, we should also be asking the question, what types of food are we cooking? People who normally enjoy exercising outdoors are now confined to their homes due to activity restrictions. Several studies have found that a great number of these active people now look to online shopping, food delivery services, or gaming to pass the time. Social distancing has also prevented many of us from seeking refuge in the great outdoors. In this study, done across Denmark, Slovenia, and Germany, the researchers found that 42% of study participants changed their consumption frequency during the pandemic. There was also an overall reduction in the consumption of fresh foods, which can be correlated to social restrictions that disallow people from going out frequently. Moreover, the study also found that participants stocked more on food with a longer shelf life, such as canned and frozen foods. Those who ate out once a week before the pandemic increased their intake of convenience foods. Women were more likely than men to increase their intake of fresh fruit and vegetables. This study that came out of Italy during the COVID-19 surge in the country aims to investigate the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the population's lifestyle. A total of 3,533 respondents have been included in the study, aged between 12 and 86 years old. A remarkable 48.6% of the population reported weight gain, while a small percentage decided that this was the right time to quit smoking. arguably because of the nature of COVID-19, which attacks the respiratory system. The study also noted an increase in physical activity and consumption of fruits and vegetables during the country's initial surge. The two major influences that changed the participants' lifestyle practices were noted to be staying at home and stockpiling food. Other factors included stress from COVID-19 news, boredom due to work-life interruption, both of which lead subjects towards eating sugar-rich foods. These foods, mainly rich in simple carbohydrates, can reduce stress as they encourage serotonin production with a positive effect on mood. More importantly, carbohydrate-rich foods are associated with an increased risk of obesity and cardiovascular diseases, which increases the risk for developing critical complications from COVID-19. Since the world's healthcare institutions are overwhelmed with caring for COVID-19 patients, the responsibility of maintaining their welfare fell on the individual. Last April 2020, the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition released recommendations to mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on nutrition and food security at the individual, community, national, and global levels. The authors have asserted that in order for us to get through this pandemic, we must ensure that we are in the right mind frame. That is, to have positive psychological and behavioral interventions to deal with the stress of living in a bubble. Furthermore, the authors have put the responsibility on the individual to put an effort and choose a healthy lifestyle every day. We know as cardiac nurses and as individuals living through this pandemic that it is very hard to make the right healthy choices every day. Whenever we perform patient education and tell our patients, lessen your intake of processed food and rice, at the back of our minds, we ask ourselves, could I do what I'm advising my patient to do? Can I cut down on rice and avoid instant noodles too? During the pandemic, one of the biggest roles of the nurse is to encourage patients and the community to make the right choices every day. Teaching our family and community members the rationale and proper way of wearing a surgical mask, debunking any myths or misconceptions they have about vaccines, or educating them about the dangers of a sedentary lifestyle during the lockdown can do wonders to lessen their chances of developing CVD. Emulating the right practices is very important as well. Simply put, we must practice what we preach. In these trying times, it is important for nurses to become role models for the community. The World Health Organization's Healthy at Home campaign recommends the following lifestyle practices to ensure optimal health during the pandemic. 3 of these also pertain to directly managing CVD risk factors: staying physically active, quitting tobacco, and eating healthily. The American Heart Association also has an easy-to-use online screening tool that can help anyone assess the risk of heart disease and stroke. It centers on the 7 risk factors that people can improve through healthy changes in their lifestyle to achieve ideal cardiovascular health. First is to get active. Try to get at least 150 minutes per week of moderate aerobic exercise or 75 minutes per week of vigorous exercise, preferably spread throughout the week. Even in short bursts of exercise can be beneficial, and all those little steps will lead to big gains in the long run. Second is to eat better. Eat a colorful diet of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, low-fat dairy products, poultry, fish, and nuts. Try to limit sugary foods and drinks, fatty or processed meats, and salt. Third is to lose weight. Maintaining a healthy weight is important for your health. To lose weight, you need to burn more calories than you eat. Learning to balance healthy eating and physical activity can help you lose weight more easily and keep it off. The next step to reduce CVD risk is to control cholesterol. Cholesterol comes from 2 sources: our bodies and food made from animals. Eating smart, adding color, and moving more can all help lower cholesterol levels. Next is to manage blood pressure. Stress and poor diet have both been linked to high blood pressure. So it's important to be well and eat smart to help positively influence blood pressure numbers. The sixth way is to reduce blood sugar. Cutting out added sugars by checking nutrition facts and labels, ingredients, limiting sweets and sugary beverages, choosing simple foods over heavily processed ones, and rinsing canned fruits if they are in syrup. You can move more because moderate intensity aerobic physical activity can also help your body respond better to insulin. And the last step is to stop smoking. Not smoking is one of the best things you can do for your health. Smoking damages your circulatory system and increases the risk for multiple diseases. But the good news is that your lungs can begin to heal themselves as soon as you stop. Moving more can help you on your journey since physical activity can help manage stress. One of the biggest challenges during the pandemic is reaching out to patients with non-communicable diseases. As we all know, prevention is better than cure. Because of activity and social restrictions, most outpatient services have been partially or fully closed. This is why it is important for us to adapt and do what we can to reach out to all of our patients. These are some programs launched by Makati Medical Center in order to address this issue. Tele and drive-through consultation posts, off-site outpatient services, and addressing mental health issues, free debriefing session for all MMC employees and affiliates. Laboratory and home health services were installed, as well as online counseling by the Diabetes Care and Weight Wellness Center. Some key takeaways from the topics that we have discussed. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly affected the way we exercise and eat. While some have adapted a healthier lifestyle and adapted to the restrictions, a big percentage of the population have led a sedentary lifestyle. Even those who have enjoyed the great outdoors have experienced a drop in their motivation to work out when the restrictions have been put in place. Being inside the bubble for the past year has greatly affected the mental health of millions of individuals. Stress, food hoarding, and boredom has increased our craving for comfort foods which have high glycemic value. And last, the cumulative stress of the pandemic has increased our risk for developing cardiovascular disease. In light of all of the challenges of living in a pandemic, what can nurses do in order to prevent the risk factors of cardiovascular diseases? First, we must always think that preventive health is an integral factor in reducing the risk for cardiovascular disease. Second, the healthcare industry needs to adapt to the current needs of the population in order to meet the new needs presented by the pandemic. Next, nurses play an important role in educating the masses, especially during a global health crisis. Organizations need to ensure that healthcare workers' needs are also being met. And last but not the least, a strong partnership between the healthcare industry and the community is key in preventing cardiovascular diseases. The fight against cardiovascular disease and other non-communicable diseases shouldn't take a backseat during the pandemic. In spite of the limitations that we are facing, nurses from all specialties should bind together to help the community through this challenge. In a time when hospitals are overwhelmed and healthcare workers are at their breaking point, we must always remember to take care of our mind and bodies. The responsibility to maintain optimum mind and body health now falls on the individual, and nurses are duty-bound to help them make the right choices every day. These are the references used for this presentation. At this point, I would like to thank the SCVNPPI for inviting me to speak with you today. Thank you for continuing to partner with Makati Medical Center and for ensuring that cardiovascular nurses remain up to date with the current trends. I wish everyone a great day ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Erica will now answer your questions. A gentle reminder to everyone, you may use the chat box for your questions or you may raise your hand. The first question, Miss Erica. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am. Your first question is, would you would you know if there has been a study that connected the impact of the pandemic to the local population's lifestyle, such as weight gain among Filipino people or improved behavior related to smoking during the pandemic?
Well, during my research for this presentation, I have not come across any studies pertaining particularly to the Philippines. But I guess if we see the trends now, if you do a search in Google right now about there's a particular study that says that Google searches for the past year have increased when it comes to diet and exercise, and I guess this is also true in the Philippines. If you just look around and see how many of your coworkers are now turning into their own chefs, how many are picking up exercising at home, or how many are posting their current progress when it comes to living a healthier lifestyle this pandemic.
Yes, ma'am, and I think I personally can attest to that. The second question for you, ma'am. Telehealth is a very interesting concept, especially in a public hospital setting. The PHC, for example, has its own telehealth initiative, but at a limited capacity as of now. In your hospital, has the telehealth program been truly effective in reaching out to all your patients in the dissemination of CBD-related information during this pandemic?
Yes, I am aware of the program of Philippine Heart Center about telehealth. And during this pandemic, that is the first time that Makati Med has ventured into that area. And we're very happy about the response of our patients. And at first, they were a little apprehensive about it because our patients were not used to that. But eventually, when the need grew, and they're looking for people to talk about, their labs, their rehabilitation, and going in for a coronary angiogram. When they have questions like that, they do call our number and ask. So we're getting more responses from our patients now.
Thank you, ma'am. Indeed, technology has been truly helpful in this new normal, and we all learn to adapt with the resources that we have. Thank you so much, Ma'am Erica.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If there are no more questions or clarifications, I will now award the e-certificate to our speaker. The certificate reads, the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines Incorporated awards the Certificate of Recognition to Erica B. Makairan for her invaluable contribution as a resource speaker on the topic How to Kiss CVD Goodbye, Initiatives and Approaches in the Risk Reduction of Cardiovascular Disease during the 20th convention with the theme Cardiovascular Nurses in the Heart of Healthcare Transformation, given this 20th day of May 2021. Again, thank you, Ms. Erica.
Thank you.
Our last speaker for today is a clinical application specialist and a CBD representative of Bibron Medical Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Francis Marie Singson.
Okay. Good morning to all our dear nurses on this 20th annual convention, and belated Happy Nurses Week to all of us. I was invited here to share my thoughts on the topic, evading burnout in the new normal. Burnout is one of the most popular words we use in the world of mental health, and the term came to existence around 50 years ago. So this experience is common to us nurses, and those who are in the helping professions, those who are in the business of helping other people. But just like in any other business, we have to learn how to adapt and to sustain ourselves because after all, we are the business itself. So we have to ask ourselves, how can we prevent ourselves from stepping into the boundary of burnout? So in this new normal, everything is uncertain. In just a snap of a finger, all could be lost in an instant. Our concerted efforts to contain the pandemic had been lost. And when we had that second wave last March, we went back to square one when the government once declared again ECQ. And it's really disheartening for us to imagine that the lives of someone we know, someone close to us, and someone we love had perished. So this new normal is our new future. It is full of surprises, whether good or bad. It has full of realizations like, am I gonna give in? Am I gonna surrender? Or do I still have the will to fight until this pandemic is over? So our agenda, we will be discussing a refresher on burnout, specifically among nurses. I'll be touching on burnout very shortly, but not in a quite sweet way. It will not be a short but sweet moment, but short and fit for us. And we will be also discussing some evidence-based strategies for burnout. So we will be looking into some interventions which are not commonly employed, but based on scientific evidence, are worth a try to see if they will work for us. So now let us briefly define burnout. It is actually a psychological syndrome, a syndrome that is characterized by a set of manifestations, now, which here are said to be psychological in nature. So the burnout syndrome exists in tripartite. Okay, so we have here reduced personal accomplishment, emotional exhaustion, and depersonalization, or RED for short. A person experiencing burnout is a person on RED. And it is felt in all areas of life. Okay, the feeling of burnout does not disappear when you're already at home. The feeling is not only present at work. No, it is carried over wherever the person is. The feeling does not disappear even if you are alone or with your family or friends. Okay, so burnout is within you, okay, wherever you go and whatever you do. And it is not dependent on the other people and the environment. So burnout means you have no fuel left in your tank, and you need to find a means to refill or recharge yourself. So going further, how can we say that we are meeting the RED criteria? So we have the following parameters for reduced personal accomplishment. We have role stagnation, role erosion, and inadequacy in terms of the personnel and the resources. So for role stagnation, we become stagnant. Okay, so there is no growth, and you are stuck in the same old routine. An example of that is if you have been a staff nurse in the COVID ward taking care of patients with moderate cases, since the pandemic started. A good way to address this is to have rotations periodically, transitioning from taking care of patients with COVID-19 to non-infected cases and vice versa. So for role erosion, so these are the untapped potentials, the feeling of being underutilized. So you know that you are capable of doing more, contributing more, but other people do not recognize it, and therefore you were not given enough opportunities. Okay, so they have been programmed that you have a limitation, and that translates. Okay, so that translates into being underestimated. So example is not being pulled out into other areas like the ER, because they view or they perceive that you are sluggish to execute your tasks. Okay, so for inadequacy, personal inadequacy, it's the other way around. Okay, the limitation here is coming from yourself and not from others, and that is translated into a lack of self-confidence. Okay, example is you become anxious when you are being pulled out, let's say in the NICU, because you have no prior experience when handling neonatal patients, and you're thinking that your shift would just probably end horribly. And then for the resource inadequacy, so your work is affected because of lack of resources, and it is realized much more when you lack that creativity. So you become too reliant on the physical resources. So an example of this is when the cardiac monitor in your unit is became defective, and you started to use the manual method for checking the vital signs. Okay. Also, for the resources, it could also mean that you have lack of training, or you receive lack of training and guidance. No, for example, your senior nurses are not that approachable. Okay, so that is a form of a lack of informational resource on your part, and the end point is you become very frustrated. For emotional exhaustion, so we have here role overload and role conflict. So for the overload, so you have multiple roles executed simultaneously, okay? And you have this feeling of being overutilized and overwhelmed, okay? Then you start to have your outbursts of emotion. You get easily irritated,
Natapusin
okay?
ko lang po ngayon, ma'am.
And you reach that saturation point already. Okay, one reason for this is because of the understaffing. Okay, so you are a staff nurse, but you perform the roles of a head nurse. Okay, so you're not compensated as a head nurse. So that could lead to one example of emotional exhaustion. For the role conflict, so here an example would be a sandwich situation wherein during the conflict you are not sure who will you take sides with. There's a conflict within your unit. Okay, is it your colleague who is your close friend whom you know has done wrong? Okay, an example is violation of the infection prevention protocol, or to your not so close colleague whom you know has complied with the protocol. Okay, so this is a similar sandwich situation experienced by married couples, no, whenever they become referees to their mother-in-laws and their partners. Okay, so this is a classic example of emotional exhaustion. Okay, and then it leads to energy gap and psychosomatic manifestations like high blood pressure, headache, muscle strain, and abdominal pain. Okay, and it also leads to what we call compassion fatigue. So we tend to lack that sense of compassion to our patients because we are emotionally spent. Okay, so clearly we cannot give what we don't have here. And for the personalization, so here we seem to be disconnected with others, physically present but mentally absent. So you are so near, but yet so far. So it's as if you are not part of the inner circle. So you become apathetic, numb, negative, and impassive towards others. So you respond in very few words when asked. So you don't tell stories like you used to be. And you often enjoy being in one corner of the nurse station, okay, with a poker face reaction. So now let's talk about the root causes of this. Okay, first is being permanently overworked. So it directly leads to role overload. So remember, we nurses are human beings, and we are not machines. So we are not born to work, and work. So we need rest and balance. Next, extreme commitment. So this is also a clear reminder that anything in excess is harmful. Next would be always under time pressure. So we have to take time to slow down. If it's not an emergency, we know that rushing could lead to mistakes. Okay? Example is when we rush the way we talk, it could be misunderstood. Okay? When we rush the way we eat, okay, it could lead to ulcers. And if we will rush the way we walk, it could lead to accidents. Okay. Next would be conflict with colleagues. So if this is unresolved within your unit or team, it could affect your channel of communication that could lead to unrest and discord. So we have to reconcile each other's differences as soon as possible. And then being unappreciated. So this is felt whenever a nurse receives feedback in the form of harsh verbal remarks most of the time, no, and rarely a positive feedback, no, usually in the form of no comment. Okay, so our thank yous, our smiles, tap on the shoulder will definitely go a long way and make a difference. And then last but not the least, you have being permanently under challenge. So it directly leads to role stagnation and erosion. So nothing new means no excitement and nothing to look forward for. So here you are not working because you enjoy it, but because you need to earn to survive. So in a nutshell, these are the nursing tasks which primarily could lead to burnout. So majority of the tasks here presented are the ones that have become mechanical for us. Like, for example, mobilizing the patient, maintaining accurate records, filing and updating the charts, round-the-clock monitoring, and jotting down instructions from the attending physician. So meanwhile, attending to the demands and errands can also lead to burnout if it is toilsome and repetitive. Okay? Example is when you are performing perineal care and wound care to an intubated patient who is on laxatives. Okay? So that could be really demanding for a single nurse. And then dealing with patients' mood and tantrums. So if it is intense and abusive, an example is when a patient has a manipulative attitude, likes to shout and utter offensive language to their caregivers. Several studies reveal that nurses are at risk. No, they are more at risk of burnout than the other healthcare providers because of close contact for longer hours. But if we zeroed in on us nurses, so which among our kind are more prone to burnout? So we have here those who are taking care of patients with infectious diseases. Okay, so nurses who take care of patients with COVID-19 contribute to high level of emotional exhaustion because it's respiratory in nature. It's deadly, contagious, and still thriving up to now. So they have this fear of infecting family members and also fear regarding the safety of their workplace since we cannot see the virus. There are also these doubts on self-protection because there could be moments wherein we could let our guard down, especially during eating or rest periods. Next is nurses who take care of critically ill patients because of their acuity level. Now, it's higher in critical areas. Therefore, the demands, the expectations, and workload increases as well. And then those who deal with emotionally overloaded relatives, sometimes it's even more challenging to deal with the relatives rather than the patient. Their toxicity level is much higher and evident, making things even more complicated instead of simplifying them for us. Okay? So if you happen to have a strong affinity to this demanding relative, so remember, you are not alone, and it's even much worse for the case of our fellow nurses. And we have here those who work in the emergency department. So this can be attributed to the nature of our work, wherein it is always under time constraint. So every second is crucial in saving lives, and that is the reality that you have to accept when you are deployed in the ER. Time flies so fast, so should your decisions and executions. So for those who are currently on the shoes of burnout, so remember that we have to be focused on increasing our psychological resources, in reducing the impact of occupational and environmental stressors, and of course in enhancing our coping skills. Okay, so the psychological resources here not only pertains to social support, like seeking the help of your family and friends, and emotional support, such as having someone available to talk and listen to you, but also obtaining enough informational support, which is possessing the correct information to deal with burnout. For the reducing the impact of occupational and environmental stressors, so we know that workplace demands that we get along with are major stressors. So the tasks, the roles that we have, our interpersonal connections, and also our physical environment. And most of them are out of our control. So that's why it's imperative for us to utilize stress management techniques that will work and jive for our case. And then for the coping skills, one way to facilitate this is to seek the guidance of experts like psychologists and psychiatrists, so that they could coach us and provide us solid tips on how we can apply these coping skills on our daily encounters with stress. Furthermore, I would want to highlight the following evidence-based interventions, which primarily appeals to our minds as very powerful tools against burnout. So we have cognitive behavioral therapy, mindfulness, and of course, consulting on the online mental health programs available. So for the cognitive behavioral therapy, so this is also known as cognitive reframing or restructuring. So wherein you have to transform your negative thought patterns into positive self-talk. So it's a thought conversion technique wherein you will be able to change your perceptions by changing the way you think. Therefore, when you change that, you will be also able to change your behavior and change your emotions. Okay. For example, kung sinabi mo sa sarili mo, ang dami pang gagawin, hindi nauubos at walang katapusan. Okay, so that statement is quite to generate a negative emotion. Okay, and that is the emotion, the feeling of being frustrated and irritated, and that could lead to emotional exhaustion. Okay, and for the behavior, it could lead to your loss of enthusiasm to work. So, and it can be reflected in your attendance, such as being tardy and absent, okay, whenever duty calls. So why not change it to ang dami pa rin gagawin pero okay lang, experience pa rin to, and para naman to sa pasyente ko. Saka mabilis ang oras kapag busy, saglit lang, endorsement na. Okay, so this statement is quite generating a positive emotion, okay, the feeling of being satisfied and confident, and of course for the behavior, leading to an enthusiasm, okay, in terms of the attendance. So you will always be available, okay, whenever duty calls. So here it starts from our thoughts, then our emotions and behaviors will follow. So what we think will influence what we feel and what we do. Next is mindfulness. So mindfulness reminds us to live in the moment. Okay, so living in the moment. So here the picture asks us if we are mindful or mindful, okay, when we are strolling in the park. So meaning we should be focused on where we are and what we are doing, okay, and not on anything else. Okay. So another example is when performing hand washing. Okay, so we have to focus on the rubbing technique, the friction between our hands, and the steps to ensure that we have cleansed all the area and not on our recent quarrel with your charge nurse, or what will be your food later because you are already hungry. So we have to be focused on the present. And it entails responding instead of reacting. So example, if you have a relative that had shouted on you saying, wala kayong malasakit sa pasyente, o pinupuntahan nyo 2 beses lang sa isang shift. Okay, so do not react, okay, immediately and say, hindi naman po totoo yun, ma'am. Marami lang po talagang pasyente and kulang ang mga nurse. Okay, in a defensive manner. So you have to be mindful of the consequences of the words that will come out of your mouth. So the situation might escalate, okay, because you're giving the relative the chance to retaliate. So, but instead respond by being calm and kind. Take a deep breath and say, pasensya na po ma'am, so we'll try our best for this not to happen again. So, and then we have here the utilization of deep breathing exercises. So this is an important component of mindfulness, wherein the deep breathing can help facilitate a calm state to avoid reacting to it. Last but not the least would be availing of the online mental health services, as discussed in the previous lecture by Ma'am Makairan. Okay, so mental health is also important in cardiovascular health. Okay, so these are offered by the government and the non-government agencies for free. So some of us may need professional help even if we are healthcare professionals. So especially if we think that we are already losing control. So this approach uses a telemedicine model to provide all kinds of support, informational, emotional, and social, except financial. Okay. The consultations to experts can give you a practical, step-by-step approach for burnout. So all you have to do is contact them. For the takeaway messages, nurses are susceptible to burnout due to the overwhelming occupational demands set forth by this pandemic. So remember, we are also human beings and we are at highest risk of burnout among healthcare professionals. And then burnout can be prevented by early identification of stressors, utilization of evidence-based interventions, and establishment of a proactive partnership between the nurses and the hospital administration. So resolving burnout is better if it is collaborative. Both parties should maintain an open channel of communication to identify stressors, which may serve as a basis for developing generic and targeted programs to address burnout. So in the midst of the pandemic, we all want you, our cardiovascular nurses, to be on top of your cardiovascular health. And one way to achieve this is to ensure that you are not burned out, okay, but rather fired up whenever heeding the call of our profession. So this ends my presentation. Thank you for listening and bon appetit.
Thank you, Sir Francis, for that very informative and timely lecture. Mukhang marami pong nakarelate. We have a number of questions for you.
Yes.
First is, what can you say about the relationship of stress and burnout? Is stress a contributory factor to become burnout?
Thank you for that question. Definitely, stress is, okay, can lead to burnout. Specifically, we are talking about chronic stress, no? The type of stress that is long-term, okay, that according to studies has been strongly linked to the feelings of burnout. So if the stress lingers continuously, okay, and you always experience it day to day, no, on your day to day encounters, there's a strong probability that it could end to burn.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question. Can burnout happen even if I love my job?
Okay, so if you love your job and you are always, you have this feeling of being accomplished. Okay, so if we tend to go back to the criteria or the technical definition of burnout, so you have to be in red, reduce personal accomplishment, emotionally exhausted, and depersonalized. So I don't think if you love your job, you will be able to reach that point. So that is a very important protective factor.
Okay, so hindi po pwedeng ma-fall out of love.
Yes, it's very important that you love your job. Okay? That is your first line of defense on burnout.
Yes, thank you, sir. Another question. Pre-pandemic, as staff nurses, our outlet to release stress after a long, tiring duty is to go out, have coffee, and go to the movies, also known as pagpag. But with the pandemic, we cannot do so anymore. Can you suggest a new normal pagpag alternative?
Okay, so thank you for that very interesting question. We could have a lot of alternatives for that. Specifically, nowadays, the quarantine restriction is now more relaxed because the number of cases have been going down. No? But rest assured, we should not should keep always our or we should not keep our guard down when it comes to the what we call compliance in the minimum public health standards. And even if at home we could use a technology, so we have the digital platform, wherein if you could not actually meet your friends outside, you could meet them, no, through the different digital platforms that we have. And these digital platforms are actually evolving. So we have every week or every month, there's this another platform appears, and actually, if you will try to explore, it has more functionalities than the previously developed ones. So just for to be able to cater to our needs, because we all know that we are all social individuals and we need that kind of interaction. So the technology actually is the solution to our problems. So it helps us adapt to our present situation.
Yes, sir. Hence the popularity of TikTok.
Yes, definitely. The
Another
millennials'
question.
favorite.
Yes, TikTok, sir. Next question. Burnout is somewhat subjective like pain. It depends on how one feels and is experiencing. For managers and supervisors, how can they determine a feigned or malingered burnout from a true one? Does one need professional training to be able to do so?
Okay, thank you for that question. So of course, constant observation is needed in this kind of case. So you should not be able to conclude right away. But if in case you are having a difficulty in confirming that this is just a malingering case, then you have to seek out the expertise of a trained professional, okay, to help you.
Thank you, sir. Last question. Should burnout be a valid reason for a staff or unit manager to take some time off from work? And should it be a concrete basis to totally leave your job?
Okay, so when a person is feeling burnout, definitely that person has the right or must take a leave for some time in order to cope up and recharge himself or herself. Because in burnout, let's say if you are a cell phone, you are really completely drained and you cannot function well. You need time to recuperate. Okay, and definitely if the situation permits, so you have to take a leave for a while. Okay, so unless for some reasons like special reasons like the pandemic and the understaffing issues, and it's really very critical that you still have to report to work because of lack of manpower, then that's case to case. But for me, that person has to take a leave.
Thank you, sir. It seems like we have answered all your questions. It is now time to award the e-certificate to our speaker. The certificate reads, the Society of Cardiovascular Nurse Practitioners of the Philippines Incorporated awards the certificate of recognition to Mr. Francis Marie Singson for his invaluable contribution as a resource speaker on the topic Evading Burnout in the New Normal during the 20th convention with the theme Cardiovascular Nurses in the Heart of Healthcare Transformation, given this 20th day of May 2021. Again, thank you, Sir Francis.
Thank you, and be safe, nurses. God bless.
Thank you, sir. The speakers today have given us a lot of timely and relevant information, and I personally learned a lot. To give us a synthesis of our online convention for this day, may I call on Ms. Marjorie Andres, the chairperson of the scientific committee.
Okay. Good day, everyone. We are so grateful that you were able to join the Society's first virtual convention. There is so much to take in from today's sessions, and allow me to share some of the highlights. Okay. Cardiovascular disease, or CVD is a global concern. And in our country, it is one of the most common cause of morbidity and mortality. Thing is, CVD is a preventable disease through adherence to a healthy lifestyle, smoking cessation, balanced diet, and physical activity. And talking about physical activity, this morning we learned that we can all do a 1-minute workout while sitting on our chair. I guess none of us has any excuse anymore for not being physically active. As Coach Tony said, the key is movement and continuous movement. Di ba nga, galaw-galaw? Now, these are not new informations. Unfortunately, the pandemic just highlighted and even reinforced the modifiable risk factors. It's not just physical health we are to be mindful of, but of our mental health as well. And stress management is a crucial skill we all need to learn. As nurses, these are nuggets of information we can adapt for ourselves and teach to our families and communities toward healthier hearts. Again, how do we kiss CVD goodbye? Smoking cessation, balanced diet, watch out your salt, sugar, fat, and alcohol intake, be physically active, remember, galaw-galaw, and be mindful on how we manage stress. Let's address burnout. Again, thank you for joining us in our first day of convention, and we do hope to see you again tomorrow for another day of learning from our exciting topics on extracorporeal life support and palliative care in CVD. Thank you, and a blessed day to you all.
Thank you, Ma'am Marge. This ends day 1 of this 2-day event. Thank you to all our speakers and to the 336 participants for joining us today, and we hope to see you all tomorrow at 9 a.m. Remember, certificates will only be given to members who have attended 2 days of the convention. And reminder, don't forget to vote for our new board members and NOMELEC, but only registered members will be able to access the voting link. Just click on the link being flashed on your screens. Deadline of voting is at 5 p.m. Vote wisely and have a great day, everyone. See you all tomorrow.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations po.
Hello po.
Hello
One
po.
more.
Congrats to everyone.
Congratulations po.
Congrats po.
Congratulations po.
Yes po.
Congrats.
All our participants, kindly fill out the evaluation form. The QR code is being flashed on your screen. Again, to all the participants, kindly fill out the evaluation form. The QR code is being flashed on your screens.